Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jan Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vitavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapadakramopanisadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidut sura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya namaha. Om Shri Saraswati namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo namaha. Hari Om. We'd like to wish all the mothers a very, very happy Mother's Day. I didn't know how many would log in, but thank you all for joining. And we hope you have a wonderful day today. Enjoy the time, whatever you can, with your children and grandchildren. So today we are starting a new chapter, the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, the path of love. Before we proceed, let us see why we should study the Bhagavad Gita. You know, we are on 2/3 of the way towards completing, and I guess it's a little late to be asking, but periodically we come up with what is the benefit of studying Bhagavad Gita? What does it do for us? And I heard a very beautiful message where they say that, of course, we are going through this viral pandemic, but what can we do to avoid? One is, of course, you can wear a mask and take precautions, but the most important thing we can do for ourselves is take the vaccine. Once you have the vaccine, then you have an inner immunity, because the virus can come anytime from anywhere, even though you might be taking precautions. But if you have had the vaccine, then you've developed an inner immunity to whatever the virus can do to us. Similarly, this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita develops an inner immunity, because the world will keep giving us problems. There can be physical problems as we get older. There will be physical problems. Even for young people, there can be emotional ups and downs. There can be success, failure, honor, dishonor. All those things can happen. But if I have developed this inner immunity, and what is this inner immunity that the Bhagavad Gita gives us, and how does she give that to us? Mother Gita. That's why we worship Gita as mother, because just as mother protects us, so Gita does also. So she gives us inner protection in several ways. One is through bhakti, through devotion, that I have total acceptance. Whatever is happening, there is a higher power that is running. And if it is happening, it is for my good. There is some good in whatever, whether there are joys or sorrow. So then there is an acceptance. ठीक है भगवान, जो भी हो रहा है, you are doing it. I'm fine with it. And secondly, Bhagavan Sri Krishna also gives us the knowledge that you are not this body, mind, and intellect. You are that consciousness. You are that supreme being who at this moment is occupying this body. And if you think I am this body, then body's discomforts will bother. If I am the mind, then mind's ups and downs. But if I am the consciousness, then it's like I'm occupying a car or a house. If something happens to the car or the house, it's not happening to me. So slowly Bhagavan Sri Krishna will take us to that, especially in the 13th chapter, which we'll be doing next, which is the highest of the Vedantic knowledge. He will take us to that understanding. So I develop an inner immunity. As we are beginning the 12th chapter, let us just briefly summarize what the 11 chapters have shown. We do that before we begin every chapter, so some of you may have heard it. But just to briefly summarize, the first chapter started with Arjuna Vishad Yoga, Arjuna's sorrow, Arjuna's grief, where he realized he had fought many wars, but usually was against the enemy. But here he's facing his own, I and mine. My cousins, my grandfather, my guru. So he gets deluded and he asks Bhagavan Sri Krishna for advice. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. And then Bhagavan starts in the second chapter with the highest knowledge that you are this Atma, najayate mriyate va kadachit. All of those you are seeing, all of them are that consciousness. So nobody perishes, even if the body perishes, but you are not the body. And what is his duty, Bhagavan tells him. And then the second chapter ends with the most beautiful section called Sthita Prajna Lakshanani. What are the hallmarks of a wise person? How does a wise person function in the world? Because Arjuna asks. See, that is another thing. Bhagavan only gives information, or the guru, when the student goes there. Otherwise, the guru is not running around, talking. So Arjuna asks. Then from the third chapter, Bhagavan tells us how to function in the world through karma yoga. In the third chapter, in the fourth chapter, working with the yagna spirit, where every action I do can be a yagna, can be dedicated to God, whether I'm eating, whether I'm working, whether I am reading, studying, everything, make it an offering to Bhagavan. And in the fifth chapter, the doership is gone, karma sannyas, that I am not the doer. Na kinchit karomi iti. I don't do anything because I am the Atma. In my presence, this body is functioning, and this body has a name Sharad or Lata or Saroj and has sex, male or female, gender, nationality, but they are not me. And then the sixth chapter, Bhagavan teaches Arjuna how to abide in this knowledge that he has given him in the second chapter. From seventh chapter, Bhagavan starts talking about Ishvara. See, but Arjuna has seen this himself as the Jiva. What is my duty? Then what is this Jagat? What is this world? And who is Ishvara, the creator of this world? And how is the world created? And then Bhagavan talks about his lower and higher nature, para and apara prakriti. The lower nature is this visible world, and the higher nature is the consciousness, which is supporting everything. Yadharayate jagat. So that is in the seventh chapter. Eighth chapter is very beautiful, where Bhagavan tells us what happens after death. Where do we go? What happens? How can I keep my mind on the highest? So very beautifully in the eighth. And the ninth, which we're also doing in the Gita chanting, is probably the most powerful chapter, where everything is there. There is nothing lacking. There is the highest knowledge. God says, they are in me, I am not in them. And what is God's nature as this unmanifest supreme, and what is its relationship to the world? And then throughout the 9th chapter, different exercises, different techniques of how I can reach the highest goal. So I personally relate most to the 9th chapter. I think it's the one that we should all memorize. Not only we should learn how to chant, but we should memorize at least some of the shlokas. 10th, then Arjuna asks Bhagwan that you say you are unmanifest, then how am I to know you? How am I to see you? And so Bhagwan Sri Krishna gives all his vibhutis. He says, even though I am the self, aham atma gudakesha, sarva bhuta shayasthitaha, aham adishcha madhyancha, bhutanam anta evacha. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end. I am the substratum. But if you want to know me, my vibhutis are endless, my glories, but he manifests or he expresses a few of them. Aditya nam aham Vishnu jyotisham aham Raviran. So I am Vishnu among all the sons of Aditi. I am the sun and the moon. So among the forest, I am among the mountains, I am the Himalayas. Among the birds, I am Garuda, and so on. And then Arjuna asks that you say the whole world is in you. So if you think I am capable of seeing it, please show me your Vishwarupa, cosmic Rupa. And Bhagwan very graciously, very compassionately shows Arjuna and all of us this cosmic form where this entire universe is nothing but him and him alone, that one consciousness, him or her. It is not, consciousness doesn't have any male or female sex, but it's that one consciousness that is appearing in everything. Everything is in that, and that is in everything. He says, everything is in me, and I am in everything. So then Arjuna naturally would have asked the question, who is superior? And that will be his first question. Should I worship you as form or formless? So the question we will approach. And why does Arjuna want to know? Because Bhagavan says in the end of the 11th chapter, Bhaktya tvananaya shakyaha aham evam vidorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. With total unending bhakti, you can reach me, you can know me, you can enter into me, become one with me. So Arjuna wants to know, should I have bhakti or should I have knowledge? Because he has heard, and we'll talk about that in the first verse when we do Arjuna's question. So he wants to know. Also, we see that the first 6 shlokas talk about my effort. My means this jiva. Udaret atmanatmanam atmanam avsadayat. Bhagavan says, lift yourself by yourself. So we have to put the effort. But in the next 6 shlokas, in 6 chapters, he says, Tesham aham samudharta. The one who puts the effort and dedicates his or her life to me, then I lift them. So we need both. We need my effort and we need God's grace. And God says, my grace is available every time. But the one who puts effort towards me utilizes that grace. The one who is too busy doing other things, he says, okay, if you don't have time, that's fine. So this is in brief what we have studied so far. So we'll start the 12th chapter today. The 12th chapter has only 20 shlokas, but it is power-packed. They say it's like, you get those little capsules that are packed with energy or packed with protein. So this has so much material in it that it will take a very long time to do each shloka. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do 2 or even 3 in any given week. So we'll start this. Atha dvadashodhyayah.
Atha dvadashodhyayah.
Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Evam satata yuktaye.
Evam satata Yuktaye.
Bhaktastvām paryupāsate.
Bhaktastvām paryupasate.
Ye chāpyaksharam avyaktam.
Ye chapya aksharama avyaktam.
Tesham ke yoga vittamaha.
Tesham ke yoga vittamaha.
Okay, you may please mute. We'll all chant together. Atha dvadashodhyayah Arjuna uvacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. So, the 12th chapter, Dvadashodhyaya, begins with Arjuna's question. Beautiful question. He says, Evam. It is very interesting that the chapter starts with Evam. Evam means thus, in this way. So you don't start a chapter saying in this way. What it means is Arjuna is connecting with the 11th chapter, where he has seen this cosmic form. So in this way, thus I have seen the cosmic form. So satata yuktaye. So the ones who are ever connected with you, their mind is always in you. Bhaktaha, these devotees, tvam pariyupasate. They worship you. Worship, we know what it means, but we'll talk a little about that. Pariyupasate. They from all sides, in every way, they worship you, they praise you, they love you in every respect. And then there are others, ye cha, and others, ye means these others, api, they are also who? Aksharam avyaktam. Akshara means indestructible. Avyaktam means unmanifest. So there are two. One is who worship you with form. And it can be any form. Here, of course, he's talking to Bhagwan Shri Krishna, but it could be Lord Shiva, it could be Mother Durga, Mother Saraswati, it could be Jesus, doesn't matter, any form, Buddha. But you worship a form, and another one is unmanifest, avyaktam, formless. So there are some who worship form, some who worship the formless. Tesham ke, out of these, ke yoga vittamaha, who are superior in yoga. Who is superior? The one who worships with form or one who worships without form? Now, why does Arjuna ask this question? Why does he start with this question? And it's a question that comes to all of us. That should I worship Bhagwan with form, or Bhagwan Shri Krishna, get up in the morning? Or should I see God in all forms? Should I see him in all forms, whether it's Ram or Shri Krishna or Lord Shiva or Mother Saraswati? Or should I see God in all forms? Not only many forms, but all forms, all trees, birds, plants, animals, everything is God. So that is also God. The form, or they say that Arjuna had studied the Upanishads because Bhishma Pitama used to bring teachers who would come periodically to visit Hastinapur, and he would make sure that the Kauravas and Pandavas got a very good education. I think the Pandavas were paying attention, the Kauravas were probably fooling around. They didn't get the knowledge. So, but anyway, Bhishma tried. So Arjuna had heard from them that the Upanishads say that God is formless. He's all pervading. You cannot know him. You cannot think about him. You cannot meditate. So he says, then how am I to know? And which of the two is superior? You please tell me that. So that is why the question arose. So as we said, God can be manifest or unmanifest. Manifest means in a particular form, whichever form that is. It's not that one form is superior to another. It's not that Shiva is superior to Vishnu, or it's not that Jesus is superior. No, none of them. They are all forms of that one manifest, unmanifest Brahman. But the unmanifest formless, is what he's talking about, which is the teaching of the Upanishads. And Arjuna wants to know that should I approach God with love or with knowledge? See, should I say, oh love, I surrender to you, Bhagwan, you are the everything, whatever is happening, Teri Maya, I have no complaints, everything is fine, whatever is happening, total acceptance, like we said, that inner immunity, that everything is fine? Or should I sit down and study the Upanishads and memorize the shlokas and yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha and things like that? Should I do that? So should I use the path of love or should I use the path of knowledge? So we'll talk a little bit about love today, and to some extent, if we have time, we'll address the path of knowledge. So how does God attract us? How do we develop love for God? So the best example of love that is the supreme is the love of Radha with Krishna, the gopis with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And it is said that Bhagavan left Vrindavan and he went to Mathura because he had to take care of Kans, rid the earth of these demons and do his divine purpose for which he had manifested. But his 12 years in Vrindavan were spent with extreme love for the gopis, where there was no thought in the mind of the gopis. Even after Bhagavan left, all the time they only thought of him. Even when they were working, when they were, whatever they were doing, their mind was on Sri Krishna. And Bhagavan also loved them equally. It's not that because he was God, so he said, forget about it. No, he had such extreme love for them. So there is a beautiful story. It is said that Radha one time was crying because she had missed Krishna and Bhagavan had gone. And she said, where is my Krishna? And she was wandering in those meadows where they used to play and where there was Ras Leela was done. And she was crying with tears in her eyes. And when am I going to see, my beloved? She had love for Krishna like a beloved. And then also most of all, she missed the flute. See, when Bhagavan played the flute on Rasa Leela, how the whole atmosphere was charged, and at night and all the gopis were dancing. That was a connection. Not only, it was not physical, it may have been physical, but more it was a connection of the spirit, the Atma with the Paramatma, the individual souls with the totality. So beautiful. And so she was remembering that and crying and saying, oh, when am I going to see my beloved? And suddenly she hears the sound of Sri Krishna's flute in the distance. Krishna, of course, is in Mathura. He's not even there, but softly she hears the sound of the flute and she says, is he here? Is he here? And then in the mist, there was a little, suddenly she sees a very brief vision of Bhagavan, and then it's gone. The sound is gone and Bhagavan. And after that, the rest of her life, she just holds on to that vision and just wants to become one with it. And so that is the attitude of a bhakta, that whatever happens, and then of course there's a long story of what happens to her, but we won't go into that. But the point is that once this vision comes to the devotee, it doesn't necessarily have to be Bhagavan himself, even the idea that there is something higher whom I should love. And how do we come to know? Through all the symbols. So once that comes, then such a person wants nothing else. And that is called bhakti. That is called devotion, where I want Bhagavan and Bhagavan alone. And it is said Bhagavan missed them gopis too, because after that he never played the flute. It is said he did not play the flute. He just said, that my time is over. So this extreme love for God and for his devotee can be seen in this beautiful story. And why is spirituality necessary? People think science can give us all the answers. We can go to the moon, we are going to Mars, we have solved all the problem. We haven't. Look, one virus and the whole world, no matter how much science we have, the whole world is gone under. But we have this idea that science can solve everything. And secondly, we think people are only DNA. You are your genes. You got your genes from your parents, your DNA. And so you are that. Yeah, genes are important. They will decide how tall I'll be, whether I'll be fair, dark. Those things are in my genes. But how much will I grow spiritually? Can that be told by my genes? No, because genes can only talk about the surface, what I am on the surface, but how much inside. They say and they think, oh, everything is the brain. No, the mind is subtle. It is so widespread. The intellect, the ability to think, the ability to contemplate, and then the unmanifest, the vasanas, and higher than that is the consciousness. So how I can grow in spirituality is not, science cannot even get even 1/1,000,000th of close to that. Because not that I'm putting down science. Science has done a lot to make our life comfortable, but we have to go beyond science to what is the inner self of all of us. And Raman Maharishi Ji says it very beautifully about this path of bhakti. He says, constant devotion, satata yukta ye. Arjuna asks, satata yukta bhakta, ones who are constantly devoted towards you. And Raman Maharishi in Updeshsar says it very beautiful. Ajyadharaya srotasa samam sarala chintanam virala tatparam. He says, just as when you pour ghee, or oil from a container, from one container to another container, there is a continuous stream, right? There is no break in that stream of oil. It is continuous, it's not broken. So similarly, the devotee's direction to that Lord should be saral, constant, not viral, not broken. So when we are sitting for prayers, our attention should be 100%. When I am meditating, as much as possible. So ajadharaya, that is how one should love. Like the stream of oil, that whenever you are pouring oil, think about that. Okay, this is how my love for God should be, unbroken. And then question is, which is superior, form or formless? It is like a child, he's going to school and he asks the mother, should I use toothpaste or should I use soap? She'll say both. You cannot say only brush your teeth and not take a shower. Or people say, should I use path of bhakti or should I use path of meditation? Guru says both. Should I? So the point is that depending on, like for your teeth, you need toothpaste. You don't need soap, but to clean your body, you need soap. So just as soap has its own purpose, toothpaste has its own purpose. Similarly, meditation has its own purpose. Bhakti has its own purpose. So they are both important. It is depending on your status, where you are in your spiritual journey. So what is bhakti? So bhakti is worshipping Lord Saguna Sakar. Saguna means with qualities. Sakar means with form. So we mentioned all the forms of Sri Krishna, Ram and all that. And then even Om is another form, which Om represents the total consciousness. Ma represents waking, dream and deep sleep. And then the silence between two Oms represents Turiya. So Om can be a symbol. It can be a Shivaling, for a Shiva Bhakta. So that is called Saguna Sakar. Saguna means with quality. Sakar means with form. Then there is Sagun Nirakar. Has qualities but has no form. And who is that? That is Ishvara. Ishvara, who is the creator, sustainer, destroyer of this entire universe, even though they give the form of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, but actually Ishvara is the unmanifest. It's not Brahman, but it is Brahman functioning through Maya. That's why Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the Gita says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridde Sher Junatisthati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Mayaya Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata Tat Prasadat Param Shantim Sthanam Prapsyasi Shashvatam. So he says Ishvara is like the motor in a car or in a machine, how the motor moves it. So Ishvara is the the heart of every being, moving every one of us. And how? Through Maya, through his power of Maya. Maya is that electricity, is that battery that moves all of us. And Tameva Sharanam Gacha, and go to refuge in that Ishvara, because through Ishvara you can get the highest Shanti. So that is the second. So one is Sagun Sakar, and this is Sagun Nirakar. Why we say Saguna? Even though Ishvara does not have a form, but Ishvara has qualities. Ishvara is loving, is compassionate, is the creator of the universe. It's the karma phala data, whatever karmas I have done. So in English, there is only one word, God, but we have so many different levels. So one is with form and qualities. Other one is with qualities, but has no form. Ishvara has all these qualities, is very kind, compassionate, available for us, but has no form. And then the third is Nirguna Nirakar. Where there is no qualities, there is no form, it is the substratum. We won't talk much about that today. That will be addressed in detail by Bhagwan in the third and fourth verse. But it is basically called Brahman. Brahman is a name given by the Upanishads, but actually this God has no name and has no form, has no qualities, Nirgun Nirakar. Yes. But we'll talk about that in the later shlokas. So then people say, in Hinduism, there are many gods, 33 crore devta, 330 million. Are there that many gods? And then they say, oh, you guys even worship trees, you worship the river, you worship rocks, you worship cows. How many gods do you have? We say, we have only one God, only one Brahman, expressing through all. Everything is God, everything. That's the idea of Hinduism. And not only that, but all faiths take you to God. That's what the glory of our Sanatan Dharma is, that they accept all religions, Jainism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, everything takes you, because there is only one God. Paths may be different. And how can we progress? How can I go from form to formless? Because we right now only know form, but they say there is a formless that you have to reach. So they say you start by doing karma yoga, do service. And then through service, when you serve God, then you say, oh, there is this supreme God, and you do upasana, you do prayer, you do worship. And then ultimately you go to that highest goal of form to formless. So form should lead you to the formless. That is the growth of the seeker, where he sees God as everywhere. So it's not that one is superior or one is inferior. It depends on your state. Some people may have done upasana in their previous birth, and maybe they directly can go to last week we talked about Nisargadatta Maharaj. And then people ask, what am I going to gain by coming to these classes? Am I going to become a better father or a better mother or a better engineer or a better doctor or a better pharmacist, better lawyer? And Guru will say, yes, but how will I become a better father or mother or teacher or professional? Because it will make me more kind, more compassionate, more accepting of others. But ultimately, the gain of Bhagavad Gita is not, yes, it will help you to work in the world. The goal of Bhagavan Shri Krishna is to take you beyond. How many lifetimes are we going to keep on spending in this journey? Nikal jao, get out of this cycle of birth and death. And that's what the Bhagavad Gita tells us. And that is the highest gain. That is the highest goal. That is the only goal. That's what Bhagavan says. And even Gurudev says, don't stop till the goal is reached. That's a very famous saying. Do not stop at that. Keep going till you become one with God. Become one, merge, and then God and I are not separate. So Bhagavan, he was very mischievous. See, Bhagavan Shri Krishna was, so he never, answered things straightforward. So he says, He says, you know what? The one who worships me in form is superior, but the one who worships me in formless will reach moksha. So he says, you didn't answer my question. So we'll see how Bhagwan answers. Maybe we'll only be able to do the first part about the form, and formless we can do start next week. So we'll do verse number 2. Bhagwan's answer. Daksha can please unmute. Shri Bhagavan
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam
Maya Veshya Mano Ye Ma
Nitya Yukta Upasate
Nitya Yukta Upasate
Shraddhaya Parayopetaha
Shraddhaya Parayopetaha
Te Me Yukta Tamamataha.
Te Me Yukta Tamamataha.
Okay, all together. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetaha Te Me Yukta Tamamataha. So here Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sri Bhagavan spoke. Uvacha is in the past tense. Uvacha, he spoke. And what did he say? First, he's talking about the worship of the form, one who worships me with form. So he says, Mai, in me, Mai is the seventh case. Mai Aveshya, having placed mana, your mind in me, the form, Ye Mam, to me, Nitya Yukta, their mind is always connected with me. Even whatever they are doing, they never forget me as the substratum, as the giver of the karma phala, as giver of everything I have. The gratitude is always there. Nitya Yukta Upasate. Upasate, Upasana does not only mean offering flowers, going to the temple. That's good. But Upasana is the degree of identification. Upa asana. Upa means near. Asana means to sit. So one whose mind is constantly close to God is said to be upasaka, said to be a sadhaka. So Shri Bhagavan Uvach, so having put their mind in me, always connected with me, they stay close to me. How? Shraddhaya Paraya, the highest Shraddha. Shraddha we are doing in our Tattva Bodh. We'll talk about briefly about that. Paraya Upetaha, they're completely endowed with the highest Shraddha. Te me yuktatama mataha. Me mataha, my opinion is te yuktatama. They are superior. So here Bhagavan says, those who worship me in form are superior. But then next week he'll tell us that those who worship me without form will reach moksha. So I didn't get my answer. But the whole 12th chapter is the answer to Arjuna's question. So those who worship me with form, put their mind in me, constantly identify with me, they are the highest devotees. So in this chapter of bhakti, there are various aspects. First is, what is bhakti? Second is, what is the object of my bhakti? What is the form that I am worshipping? How can I carry that out, that bhakti? How can I reach that Bhagavan? That is also covered. Then what are the obstacles that will come in my path when I am on this path? What are the obstacles? How can I overcome the obstacles? And then what is the vision of a bhakta? So this chapter is divided into two portions. The first part talks about form and formless. And the second part, Bhagavan talks about Ye me bhakta sa me priya, who is the devotee that is dear to me. Of course, we are all dear to Bhagavan, but one who chooses Bhagavan exclusively, Bhagwan has a special place in his heart for them. Yeah, like for a mother, all children are good, but one who calls her more often, obviously mother will think more about that child, right? Other one who doesn't have time. So it's like that. How often you call Bhagwan, that time he gets happy. He never says, "Arey, iska fir phone aa gaya." No, a child will never say that. Child is always happy to hear from God. And Gurudev in his commentary says, it's the kind of vehicle I have. Like if I have a car, I can drive on the ground. If I have a boat, I can go in water. If I have a plane, I can go in the air. So similarly, if I am action oriented, then I choose the path of karma yoga. If I am emotional, I choose the path of love. If I'm intellectual, I choose the path of knowledge. In the path of meditation, we combine all three: karma, bhakti, gyan. So the point is that depending on that, one or the other may be predominant, but as we have talked many times, choose all. Why should you only choose karma, only bhakti, only sab kuch karo? Anyway, we have to reach God. So the more vehicles you use, the better. If he's trying to run by car away, you chase him by car. If he goes in the water, go with the boat. If he's flying, you catch him by plane. Somehow or the other, you catch this Bhagwan, so he can't escape. So use all the vehicles. And also in the 4th chapter, Bhagwan says, Chaturvida bhajante ye maam, jana sukriti norjuna, arto artarthi jigyasu, gyani cha bharatarshava. He says there are 4 kinds of people who choose me, who approach me. But they come for different reasons. One is artha. He comes because he is suffering. Oh, Bhagwan, please remove my suffering, or my husband suffering, or my child suffering. So they only go to God when they are suffering. Artharthi, those who go for a job, God, make sure my son gets a job, make sure my stocks keep going up, my 401k, make sure it doesn't go down. So they have, goal is artha arthi. Then jignasu. Jignasu is, theek hai, if I find out about God, it's okay. And so they read the scriptures not to reach God, but to know, like they are doing PhD in Sanskrit. So they know all the Vedas, Upanishads, they know how to chant. But how are they doing it? Wearing jeans, chewing gum in the mouth, they're studying Bhagavad Gita. Aise nahi hota. You have to give exclusive time. So, and then the 4th Bhagwan says is Gyani. Gyani means man of knowledge. He says the man of knowledge is the greatest bhakta. Yes, because one who knows me alone develops that total love and surrender. So without knowledge, how can you develop love? So that's why he says, that is the supreme. He is the closest to me. So then he says, Maya Veshya Manoye Mam. So fix your thoughts completely in me, where that and that alone is important. And who is this Mam? Who is this I that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is talking about? You can take anything. You can take, as I mentioned, one particular form. Or you can say all forms of God, but it's good to have one particular form that I love, that I can get connection to, but do not restrict God, that alone is supreme, like, that form alone is, and everybody else is inferior. And people have all these conflicts, between Vaishnavites and Shaivites, between Muslims and Christians and Hindus. Why? Because my God is higher, my prophet is better, my book is, no, all books lead you to him, all prophets. So that Mam, that supreme God, who is, as Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed in the 11th chapter, the cosmic form. And he says, Nitya Yukta Upasate, and ever self-controlled. And that is very, very important. Self-control, where I do not that you should not enjoy, but overindulgence, whether in food or in, wasting time just talking on the phone or on the internet, self-control. Yes, some amount of time you need to know the news, you need to talk to people, but control that wasted time. And I mean, that some time is required, of course, for friends and all that, but reduce that, whatever you can avoid, and spend more time in knowing God, in reaching God. And Shraddha, Shraddha is very beautifully covered in the Tattva Bodha, where it says it is Guru Vakyeshu Shastreshu Vishwas iti Shraddha. So what is Shraddha? Shraddha is faith in the scriptures and faith in the Guru, because it is only through the Guru that we can learn the scriptures. Yesterday we celebrate Pujya Swami Chinmayanandaji's birth centenary, 105 years, Jayanti, and we talked about that. Without Guru, where would I have been? If we had not met Swami, we wouldn't have had this WhatsApp group if Swami Chinmayananda had not come in our life. So that Shraddha in the faith, in the teacher. This is a very beautiful story. So there was this villager who goes to the Guru and he says, Guru, please teach me how to meditate. No, villager, he hadn't studied scriptures. He had not studied Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. He had just come. He had a lot of faith in the Guru. He said, whatever Guru says, complete 100% faith. He said, I don't need any proof, any knowledge. Guru says, I will just practice. So Guru teaches him meditation, sit down, watch your breath, chant your mantra and relax your body. So he goes, he comes back after 2-3 weeks. Ye nahi hoga mere se. I can't do it. He said, my mind runs here and there. I cannot concentrate. I cannot focus. Sorry, I cannot meditate. So Guru was quite smart. He says, what do you love the most? He says, I love my cow. For a villager, cow is the wealth, right? I love my cow. So Guru says, go meditate on your cow. I don't know why Guru at that moment, he felt that. So he sent him away. So 2-3 weeks, the Shishya didn't show up. So Guru said, what happened to him? And he went there and he asked the neighbor, his door was shut. So he said, where is this man? He said, 3 din se bahar hi nahi nikla. He hasn't come out of his house in 3 days. The door is shut. He lives alone. He has no family, no wife, and we haven't seen him. We hope he's okay. I hope he's alive even. We don't know. And we knock on the door and there is no answer. So Guru says, okay. So he knocks hard. There is no answer. He says, again he knocks harder. Bang. Where are you? Whatever his name, Ram Prasad, where are you? He said, voice comes, I am meditating. So he said, why is he talking in this voice? He says, open the door, come out of the door. I want to teach you something. He says, I can't come out. He says, why? He says, my horns are too big. I can't come out of the door. So in those 2-3 weeks of meditating, he had become one with the cow. He started thinking himself to be the cow. So that is the devotion of a devotee. That's why they say that when you devote to a particular form, become one with that form. If you are meditating on Lord Shiva, bring Lord Shiva's qualities in you, his peace, his compassion, when Lord Krishna, again, his knowledge, his beauty, his kindness, compassion, how he was always ready to help. At the same time, he's very mischievous, playful. That's beautiful. When Sri Ram, how he was an ideal Purusha, when Mother Saraswati, how she is a symbol of knowledge. So connecting with God in whatever form. That's why in Saint Francis's story, they tell that he came from a very rich family. He was very wealthy. But once he turned his mind to God, he said he became so much identified with Jesus that people who saw him, they thought it was Bhagwan himself, Jesus himself. Or same way Tapovan Maharaj, they talk about Tapovan Maharaj, Swami Chinmayanandaji's guru. He said when he used to walk in Uttar Kashi, people said this is Lord Shiva himself. They could see Lord Shiva walking, and so they would bow down to him as a Bhagwan. So that is the glory of these devotees, that they become one with what they meditate on. They become one with God. And they say that you have to choose. See, people, there are two choices, whether I love material things or I love God. And a person who loves material things, not that we don't need money and material things, but if that alone is going to be the focus of my love, then everywhere I go, I will look at money. If I see a redwood forest, I'll say, I should buy this land. chop all the redwoods, make lumber and sell it, and then make a beautiful resort, and there's a river, and make a hotel. So everywhere he is looking for money. If he sees the Grand Canyon, he says, you know what, if I can buy some of this property, I'll, make a road. People can drive down to the Grand Canyon. I'll buy helicopters. So everywhere he goes, he only looks at money. But a devotee of God, everywhere he goes, he sees God. If you see the redwoods, wow, see the majesty of Bhagwan. When you see the Grand Canyon, oh my God, how great my God is, so great, so strong, and so mighty. We teach our children in Bal Vihar. So that is true love. And when people think of love, they think of, like you say, love, they think of physical love. When two people are embracing, that is love for us, most of us. But true love is not physical. True love is sacrifice, where my beloved's happiness is my happiness. My beloved's joy is my joy. What makes my beloved comfortable will make me comfortable. So when I love somebody, love comes only with sacrifice, not what I can get, but what I can give. Not what my beloved can do for me, but what I can do for my beloved. That alone is love. So similarly, when I love Bhagwan, we don't go to Bhagwan like an ATM machine. There's an ATM machine. I click and say, Bhagwan, give me this, give me this. We go with a long shopping list. No, Bhagwan, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? How can I make this world a better place? You have given me my body, my mind, my intellect, all my abilities. You have given me this beautiful world to enjoy. How can I serve you? That's what Gurudev says. What you have is a gift from God. What you do with what you have is your gift to God. So that is called true love, where there is a willingness to sacrifice. And for a devotee, they are ready to sacrifice anything. Look at Buddha. He left everything. He left his wife, his children, his kingdom. He would be the next king. I want peace. Mirabai, look at Tukaram. I mean, for you and me, we may not be at that level where we can give up everything, but as much as possible, I should be willing to sacrifice for the higher cause, for making this world a better place. So the sacrifice and identify, as we said, the villager became a cow. So I should become like God. Not that I will be God or I can create the universe. No, but I and God are not separate. Tattvamasi, that's what the scriptures say, that you and that consciousness are not separate. So they say that the scriptures talk about a veil. There is a veil that is covering me from God, and that is the veil of Maya. That is the veil of, and that is how Bhagwan is hiding, even though Bhagwan is everywhere. He's here, he's talking, he's listening, he's in this computer, he's in this book, but we are not able to see him because our eyes are covered with this veil of ignorance and the veil of Maya. So the masters describe very beautifully. They say that as you progress in the spiritual path, the veil becomes thinner and thinner. Just as, a Muslim lady, she's wearing a burqa, right? That is very dark and black. You can't see anything. And then if another lady is wearing just like an Indian, dupatta, it is covering her face, but you can see a little bit of it. So similarly, slowly God reveals himself or herself to us. So the form slowly becomes manifest till ultimately in that complete merger, then there is no veil. The veil falls away and the devotee and God become one. So this removing of the veil is bhakti. Bhakti is what? Removing the veil. And which form? We said you can pick any form, but pick one form so that you have connection with that form. But bhakti is essential everywhere. It is like last week we talked about, it is the missing ingredient. So when I want to do karma yoga, when I want to serve, I have to have love for that person, right? Otherwise, without love, you're not going to serve. Yeah, if you have a job and you are getting paid, you will go, even though you don't like your boss, you will go and work because he's paying you. But if you truly want to serve, you have to have love for the cause. Like, like people who come and serve at the Chinmaya mission, if we have love for the cause, then we are willing to do anything. So that kind of love for Gurudev, Puja Gurudev, love for the mission, love for Bhagwan, Sri Krishna. So whatever my connection, it has to be love. Then for knowledge, if I want to know about God, again, I have to have love. If I love somebody, then I want to know about who that person is. How does this person think? So here, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan himself is telling us how I think, who I am, how can you reach me? So bhakti is essential in the path of karma yoga, is essential in the path of jnana yoga, knowledge, even to do rituals, to do sacrifices, to do all these austerities. You are doing fasting, you are doing tapas, all that you need to have love for the goal. So bhakti is the essential missing ingredient that is essential in everything. Even in the path of knowledge, you need to have love. And so that is what we have covered today. Arjuna's question that, oh God, who is superior? The one who worships you with form or one who worships you without form? And then Bhagavan says that one who worships me with form is superior. Why? Because he has total Shraddha, he has total faith in me, and his mind is constantly in me, his or her, obviously, we don't. And her mind is always connected to me. So in my opinion, that devotee is superior. So here we have talked about form. Next week, we'll talk about the formless. I had prepared 3 shlokas, but as I told you, these shlokas are power-packed. There is so much material that we'll go slow. There's no hurry. The enlightenment, whenever we reach. At least hopefully by the end of 18 chapters, we will get somewhere. So thank you all very much for listening, and welcome any questions, any comments, anything you agree or disagree.
Ramakrishna Paramhans used to say bhakti is like, in the ocean, and with the bhakti, it becomes like an iceberg, so that they are floating in there. But it is same water, but it has made a form. So that is what bhakti,
right. So
with the form.
Right. So just as the water, when it makes a form, becomes an iceberg, so Neeru said, so similarly, when a devotee develops bhakti, then that form solidifies. Then for him, that form becomes something that is visible. I said like the veil, and then the oneness, and then it becomes visible. It becomes very apparent. So just with the way Mirabai used to see Sri Krishna, or Tukaram used to see Panduranga, that's how we should develop that kind. So that's why I had said even last week, read the lives of saints. It is beautiful. Just go to the internet and just Google life of Mirabai and Tukaram and Sant Gyaneshwar, and just spend your time, and you will be so inspired. I personally,
nice videos also.
A lot of videos now about them, movies. But if you like to read, just read their life, and that is very, very good. And then what happens is you see that, do I have those qualities in me or not, which this Bhakta showed.
We will talk about Shraddha, Vishesh, and Jagal.
Yeah, Shraddha we talked in the Tattva. Yeah, there is Samana Shraddha and Vishesh Shraddha. So Neeru said, Samana Shraddha is, I believe in God. Okay, scripture says, and it's okay. I believe. I believe. And then you go about doing your duty. Vishesh Shraddha is that and that alone I want. And complete, total, unwavering faith, which ultimately ends in unity, where the two become one. So Samanya Shraddha and Vishesh Shraddha. So from Samanya, Thika, yeah, there is God. Okay, he's there somewhere. As long as he doesn't bother me, I don't bother him. That's fine. So that is Samanya Shraddha. Yeah, he created the world. Okay, and I'm here. Now, how am I going to worry about my bank balance? That is Samanya Shraddha, but Vishesh is where the goal is nothing but that. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. Samanya Shraddha and Vishesh Shraddha. I think we talked about it in the Tattva Bodh class on Thursday evening. Any other comments? Sharad, anything you would like to add?
Definition of devotion or love, and it was saying something along the line of if you have love for someone, whether it's your child or your husband or your wife, it's being able to put their needs before those of your own,
Right.
even at the cost of hardship to yourself. So I thought that was a good definition.
Thank you. Satish Bhai, anything?
I think what Sharad said, I would say today is Mother's Day, and that's what mothers do, right?
Yes.
They put child's needs first over everybody else. Right? Not only child's, but the entire family.
Right.
So, right.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. This is one of my favorite chapters. I think bhakti is it's very distinguishing out of all three paths.
Yes.
You know, yes, the devotion. If you look at the devotion from certain saints, like you mentioned, it just makes you cry. I mean, it's just so much overwhelming, a feeling you get in your heart.
Yes.
That, so I think we must do this.
Thank you.
Bhakti is also the fragrance.
Yeah, bhakti is the fragrance in the flower.
It has, juice.
Or the sweetness in the fruit.
Right. Those who don't have it, they're missing a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank
you for that.
Also in Upasana, I was thinking one example came to my mind that when, you're sitting near the fire is burning. If you are far away, you will not get it. So Upasana means if you sit near it, you will get the qualities of fire. You will get that warmth in it. So same way when you think of Lord, you go near God, you get those qualities in you. So
yes.
That's the example I was thinking when
right.
talking about Upasana.
Right. So sit close. The closer you get to fire, the more you feel the warmth. So the closer we get to God, the more we will get God's qualities in us. Fragrance. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
When Lord Krishna appears in his Vishwarupam, is it something which is a form, or it is his manifestation as form?
It's the cosmic form. It is the celestial form where all forms are in that form. So it is the totality, the entire universe is seen by Arjuna in that form. So it is the total unity of that, and you need a special vision to see that. Where for us, I mean, we could just go out in your backyard and you see the trees and the flowers and the fruits and the birds. You can see God, but most of us are so busy that we don't have time. So Arjuna asked, so he showed him the cosmic form, but that is still a form. Yes. Formless is even beyond that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that next week. Thank you.
Yeah, I just thought that in one of those Bhagavad Gita books that I would see in the stores and other places, there used to be a picture of Lord Krishna with everything manifest in it, So
Yes.
from that sense, it looks like there is a boundary. So Lord Krishna is a form. But sometimes I also feel that if that manifestation is with every component, every ingredient, every iota of the universe, then it's sort of a feeling of infinity as well. So it
Yes.
also gives
Yes.
a feeling of formlessness.
Right. It is infinite, yeah, in that sense. But again, still space is finite. Even though space we think goes forever, but space is something which can be negated. We'll be doing in Tattva Bodh next week. But in your sleep, you don't experience space. But Atma, the consciousness, you experience at all times. So that is true formless, all pervading. And we'll talk about that next week, which has no qualities. Space still has some qualities. So, but yes, what Bhagavan showed him, that even space is in me. That's what he showed. So yes, it was as close to formless as you can get,
Yes.
but it's still not that ultimate, which he will show us. We'll talk next week. Saravan, you want to say anything?
There is no doubt at all. Yeah, really, I liked it. Yeah, it was a very great topic. I loved it. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Thank you. For most of us, we start with form, but then go to formless. And that journey is the spiritual journey from form to formless. So in Sri Krishna, I not only see form, but I see that totality, which we had done in Sanskrit class, but I'll talk next week about what is Sri Krishna's, how form and formless are both in that. You know, that prayer Satchidanand Rupaya, we'll do that next week. I think we can, there is just a couple of announcements. Om na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantamanubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. You can pick up the arti and just do it. Arati Shri Chinmaya
Sadguru ki
Devya Rupa Murati Karuna ki Arati Sadguru ki Charno mein unke shanti samaye Sharnagat ki bhranti mitaye पाप ताप संताप हरण की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की सिद्ध बाड़ी की तपो भूमि में नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे भक्त हृदय आनंद श्रोत्र की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की। बोलिए श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय। Shri Sadhunath Maharaj ki jai. Everybody please take the arti. We'll do the closing prayer. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhava karomi yadya sakalam parasmai Narayanayeeti samarpayami Narayanayeeti samarpayami Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha Sarve santu niramayaha Sarve bhadrani pashyantu Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet
Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much.